you have a choice to make every day. You can choose to throw in the towel, or you can choose to keep trying. You can choose to react negatively, or you can choose to take a breath and say, even though it feels wrong, I'm going to react positively because I'm not going to stoop to the level of the person that made me feel that way. And the biggest takeaway that I would love for people to walk away with is that the reminder that we do have the ability to change the trajectory of somebody's day, their week, their month, or their life.
Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast. My name is Melissa, and this is Sammy. We are diving deep into conversations that connect and inspire. Stories of resilience, triumph, and transformation. Stories that take us to the heart of human connection. Please note that opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect those of this podcast. Please listen with your kindness and an open mind. Each story shared is authentic and vulnerable. Let's embrace our differences with empathy, knowing every voice enriches us. Together, let's cultivate a community of respect and curiosity. Thank you for listening. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired.
Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast, everybody. Today we bring to you Jess Tetu, who we are so excited to chat about. We heard about Jess at a Jessica Jansen event, kind of started connecting, following her on Instagram and things like that at that time. And she was on our list of people we wanted to chat to at one point in time, but luckily enough for us, she reached out to us to be a guest on a podcast, and we're so honored that she did. And we had such a lovely conversation with her today. We know it's going to add value to you. Like the conversation about judgment, how to handle it, the value of redirection with the emotions that come to you with hard things. I wrote this like instead redirect, because instead of like holding on to it, redirect it. The journey she's been through to create the businesses she has. She tells us about all the different entrepreneurial endeavors she's taken on, where she started, how she went through that. Like, it's such an empowering story, and like, we're so excited to share it with you.
I'm nodding. Yes, agree to everything. It's amazing. I think let's just roll into it, because stick around and hear her story. It's honestly just so moving. We're so grateful.
Welcome to the podcast, Jess. We're so excited to have you here. Before we jump into our lovely topic that I think is going to hit so many people, I just want to ask if you could just introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, what brings you to speaking, and just little snippets about you.
Absolutely. So my name is Jess Tetu. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I like to use the word serial entrepreneur because I don't really know what else to call it. I own multiple businesses. So I own Just For You spas across Canada. So we have currently 5 locations across Western Canada. And then I have a beauty and skincare brand called Leah Reese Canada. So we have skincare products, beauty products, body care products. We have essential oils, bath products, all of those types of things. And then I have another company called Iconic Betty, and that is a jewelry line that we created and we donate back to Canadian Mental Health Association every year. And then I am a business consultant mentor. So basically I help entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs. And then I'm a public speaker to share about all of the things. I have a pretty crazy kind of backstory of how I got to where I am today. And I like to share that primarily with youth, high schools, women, wannabe entrepreneurs, just really with the goal of inspiring them to kind of go after what matters to them, or something that they want to do in life, that it doesn't matter where you come from, or, you know, what life is thrown your way, that you do have the ability to like create a life that's different than the path that you're on. And so that is a little bit about me. Those are all the things that I do, or a few of the things I do, I should say.
That's awesome.
Just that, hey?
Just a couple.
Just that.
Do you have anything else? Like, could you tell us something more exciting?
Okay, well, I'm a mom.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm a mom. That's probably that's the most important role, mom and wife, for sure. So I have 3 kids, I'm married, live in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. That's my world. Yeah.
Amazing. That is an incredible amount of things going on, and it all sounds so inspiring and incredible. What were you going to say, Sammy?
I was just going to ask, I know you said you usually like to share it with youth, and I know we have a topic on hand today, but I want to ask, can you give us like a snippet of the story that is your background that kind of led you down this path?
Yeah, I'll give you the very, very, very short version because it's a long one. So I grew up in a really small town, and I was raised in a home with severe addictions. And so I spent a lot of time in women's shelters when I was a kid. And by the time I was 15, we actually lost our home, and basically, for lack of better terms, became homeless and had to kind of start my life on my own at 15. So I came to the city from this small town on a bus with nothing but my backpack and my bus ticket, and kind of started a life, got registered in high school, got myself a job, lied on an apartment application saying that I was 18 so that I could get a place to live, was going to school, was working full time so that I could pay to live on my own. Meanwhile, nobody knew, like nobody in school, everybody assumed I lived with parents because I kept it a secret for a long time because I thought, people were going to, what you see in the movies, I thought people were going to like swoop in and like take me away or something. I didn't know. So I just, did my best. During that time, my dad was really struggling still with his addiction. And so I became his sole provider. He didn't live with me, but I took care of him. So I was by his side the whole time as he went through rehabilitation, depression. He struggled very deeply with mental health and his addiction. So there was a lot of time spent in the psych ward. There was a lot of visiting him there. There was a lot of taxiing to school in the morning so that I would be late for school, because he taught me, as much as he struggled, he taught me such invaluable lessons in life, and that education was so important, and then to believe in myself and all of these things. And so I really spent many, many years as kind of in survival mode, trying to like create this life for myself that was away from the world of addictions. I ended up married with a little baby, and found myself back in a relationship with someone who struggled with a more severe form of addiction, one with hard drugs that I wasn't aware of. I wasn't familiar with that. My father never struggled with hard drugs. He struggled with his mental health and alcohol addiction and prescription drugs. And so I didn't see the signs. I ended up in a very, very violent relationship, and for the second time in my life had to flee with a baby now to another shelter, and then started over from there, and was working at a spa, went through college, wanted to be a lawyer, but was working at this little spa and just fell in love with the calm. That's literally the only word that I can use to describe it. I fell in love with this feeling I'd never experienced before. And it was this like sense of like making people feel happy and calm, and giving them this like moment of escape from whatever was going on in their world. And I just fell so deeply in love with the clients and with that feeling that I knew that somehow, some way, this needed to be my direction, even though on paper, going to be a lawyer, working for a judge, which was the opportunity I had in front of me, was maybe smarter, or on paper might have made more sense. I just couldn't get rid of this like gut feeling. And jump ahead a little bit, I ended up purchasing the business with absolutely no financial support. The banks would not support me. So that in itself is a whole journey on how I was able to fund it, and how I was able to come up with the money. And I got real creative and did all these marketing things, and got financing from the previous owner, and had this crazy wild deal of having to have the owner paid off in 4 years. And on paper, it wasn't even possible to do in 4 years. And so I was able to do that. That's a really exciting part of my story that I'll save. So you got to come hear me speak to share it. But it was crazy how it all worked out. And I've never worked harder in my life than I did in those years as a single mom and trying to build something for myself. And it worked. And I created this beautiful business, and from there expanded a few years later, and just continued expanding from there, creating careers for people, giving back to the community, going back and giving back to all of the shelters and all of the community programs that were so helpful and so valuable to my family. And then I really just kind of fell into public speaking. I never wanted to be a public speaker. I had such bad social anxiety. I couldn't even order pizza. It was crazy. And just learning that comfort with clients in the spa gave me the confidence with these kind people to be myself, and to kind of open up to them a little bit, and share a little bit. And the more I did that, the more people were impacted by it. And I started to recognize that this isn't something I should be ashamed of. This is something that I should be very, very proud of. And for a long time, people would say, tell me about the success story of your business. And I'd say like, yeah, I bought it. It's done great. And then I realized like, actually the powerful part is the hard parts. And so as I shared, it really became inspiration and kind of a learning tool for other people. And that just kind of spread. And I really recognized the value in speaking with other people. I love speaking with students and the youth just because I see myself in them. I wish somebody, when I was 14, 15 years old, could have told me that there was hope. I just wish that was a thing back then, and it wasn't. but I also speak to corporate businesses and to women at women's events, and because every human in the room needs a little inspiration sometimes. So that is kind of the gist of the story. That is, I promise, the very short version of
Wow.
it. But yeah, that is how I got, to where I am today. And I'm still trying to reach goals. I'm still working really hard every day to try to like help other people. And my why I do what I do is to help others. And in every aspect of the things that I do, that is at the end of that is at the root of it. That is the core of why I do what I do. Is I hope I can leave behind happier humans and, a little piece of a better world than what I saw and what I was raised with. So that's kind of my journey. That's kind of where I got to today. And yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still growing and hoping for beautiful, amazing things in the future. But that is the journey to this point.
That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank
I
you.
Stole the words right out of my mouth, Sammy. I was going to just say, like, there's so much beauty in what you just said.
And I mean,
Thank
obviously
you.
a lot of hard in that. I don't want to undermine the hard in it and the overcoming that you had to go through and work through, and the resilience that you obviously had through that. I don't want to undermine that by saying that it's beautiful. It's obviously there's a lot in
It's
that,
funny
but
though. People say like, "Oh, wasn't it like it isn't owning all these businesses and like scaling and opening another one? And isn't that so scary? And isn't that like hard?" And it's really crazy. And I have to say this all the time. It's not really scary to me, because scary to me was a little girl sitting in a women's shelter. Like I remember writing on the walls in crayon when I was a kid saying like, I hate it here. I want to die. I want to die. I hate it here. I hate this life. I can't live like this. And that's scary. Being 15 years old on a bus,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing where I was going to sleep, like that's
Mm-hmm.
scary. This is just opportunity. And if it doesn't work out, whatever.
yeah.
I knew I wasn't going back to the shelters. I knew I wasn't going back to like not knowing if I had food, not knowing if I was going to have a black eye tomorrow. It just is a different type of fear. And so for me, I was always able to kind of separate the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes
And
absolute sense.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And I think that's probably a really important piece that I mean, anybody, but especially young people can really grab onto, is separating actual fear and scary from excitement fear. Like they're two very different things, and our body feels them the same way. Is
Yeah.
something that's exciting and scary is a good thing. Something that's
And
actually scary is
I'm
different.
not saying it's not hard. It was hard
Mm-hmm.
work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's supposed to be. That's why it's called work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very hard work, but it wasn't as terrifying as
That.
people would say that they
Mm-hmm.
expected it to be, I guess. And so for me, it's scary. It was scarier not to
Mm-hmm.
try hard and not to try to change things. That's scary. That life I was living was scary. And the path I was on multiple times, that was scary. And so, and I mean, it's still hard. There's still life still happens. It's not like I've got it all
Of
figured out
course.
now and everything's rainbows and sunshine. I mean, furthermore into my story, I dealt with a lot of grief. I ended up losing my father tragically to his addiction. I lost my stepmother to mental health. I lost my best friend to cancer, and all within a very short period of time. And it was absolutely devastating. And I was at the highlight of my career, and I thought that everything was like, I did it. I made it. The world is great. And then all of a sudden I was like, couldn't get myself out of bed and couldn't have a shower because I felt like it was worthless, and I felt like my life was pointless, like no matter what I did. And I have a family member who still struggles with addiction, and we went through all of that together. And it's just, life doesn't really get easier, but you get stronger. And so the problems don't really change, but you do. And I changed.
I
Yeah.
love what you just said. I love what you just said. And I also wrote down, it was like big quotations when you said the powerful part is the hard part. That's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good, because I think people just see the success.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, and I'm actually gonna say I've done this. You see the success, you see the beginning part, and then you see the success and you go, I don't what? you don't see the middle part. And it's
Yeah.
it's easy
Well,
to
people-
judge ourselves by the beginning part or the end part of somebody else's story without
Yeah.
actually focusing on what happened in between.
And I think people do like I did, where we don't share the yucky part.
Mm-hmm.
So all you see
Yeah.
is the rainbows and sunshine. All you
Mm-hmm.
see is the highlight reel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I just decided to be like raw and vulnerable and just, say like, this is what it is. This is
Yeah.
raw. This is real. This is what people
Yeah.
are dealing with. And every time I stand on stage, I always say like, I can see it in the room. I can see the mental struggles. I can see the people that are struggling with addictions, that have a family member that's struggling with addictions. I can see when someone is struggling with like maybe their fertility or pregnancy or anything in that realm, or divorce, or they've got somebody in their life that is very ill or dealing with a disease. Like when I share this rawness, I see it in the room, and it doesn't matter if it's like a corporate space that I'm in. It's human beings, and we all are dealing with these things, and that's why I do it, because I don't want anyone else to feel as alone as I felt in those moments, and feel like everything is pointless and I could never do that. Like you absolutely can, and you absolutely can choose to. And it isn't all rainbows and sunshine. It isn't all like, it's not luck.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work and a lot of like commitment to like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to hate my life. I don't want to not want to get up in the morning. I don't. And a lot of it is choice and making the decision for yourself, even just to try, just for one day. Like I used to say to myself when I was like barely able to pull myself out of it, just try for one day, just one day. And then the next day it was like, just try for one day. Like you don't need to be thinking, oh, you better do this, 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 and this, and hit all these goals and win this award and do this and do that. I was thinking literally just make it through today and tomorrow. Like, let's just, and I think sometimes especially as women, we think we have to figure it all out and we have to be at a certain level and we got to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and the perfect employee or the perfect leader and eat the right things, do the right things, look the right way, like say the right things. Like we're not able to be ourselves and make mistakes and learn. And that's just not true. That's just not reality. We don't grow and we don't learn by being perfect. We learn and grow by making mistakes.
Jeepers, yes.
And that's the only way to get there.
Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely.
And I've failed so many times. Like, yes, I have these successful businesses, but there's a lot of things I tried that I fell on my face for. Like there are businesses I did, this is for, as an example, I created, we still do cosmetics, but I had invested massive funds into building this cosmetic line, launching it across Canada, doing all these things. We got to go to the Emmy Awards, which is a whole other story. It was the coolest thing ever, but in Los Angeles. But essentially then Sephora all of a sudden became this big thing, and online Amazon and all these, I couldn't compete with that. And it was a massive loss, the financial side of things, for bringing in 70 different colors of foundation and all the things, when someone could just like walk into Sephora and get it for half the price. And when I created it, I was like, this is going to be perfect. It's going to work. And it didn't. And we shifted it and changed it. And now we do like cash and carry things like palettes, eyelashes, things that are like a little bit more flexible. You don't have to like try the colors on, because it is primarily online, and we've shifted gears. But I took a massive loss on that. But I don't like share like, guess what? Today I failed. Like I lost $100,000. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like it's not like, woo, you don't share those things, because those aren't the things that inspire people. But that's the truth. That's the reality of, a massive investment sometimes in business. Like just because I've been successful in a lot of things doesn't mean I didn't fail at a lot of them. I had to just keep trying, and eventually they become successful.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to partially when we're talking about judgment, and also sharing your story, is when you're in the midst of the struggle, it's different to share about it than once you overcome the struggle. And whether it feels like a struggle or not at the moment, most of the times it does. But sharing that if you in that moment you start sharing like, I just lost $100,000 yesterday, people have a harder time grasping that. Where it's like 5 years ago I lost $100,000, or 2 years ago I lost $100,000, and I'm still here. I'm survived and still here, right? Like
barely, but I survived.
It speaks very differently, in many different ways. And there's that fear of, well, if I let people know that I failed right now, can they still see that I'm successful, or do I need to wait till I continue to be successful even through the failures?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think there's a
I
piece of
try
that
to
too.
share pretty authentically on my social media when things are chaotic. I try really hard to. Like, we've been broken into, and we've had like the craziest thing. We had $100,000 flood at this location here, actually. And it was wildly upsetting, and I didn't know if we were going to survive it. And I shared a little bit of it. Obviously, I didn't get into the extent of like, I don't know if my business is going to survive. It did. We're fine. But I didn't know at the time whether it was going to. And I think that if you asked any really successful business person, or even like, let's say, a successful actress or a singer, you can expect that they're going to tell you, if they're honest with you, that they've had massive amounts of failure. Massive, because that's the truth. You have to try 100 times before you maybe get it right twice. Like, that's just the reality. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes you try something and it's awesome. Like, I launched a jewelry line during COVID because I thought, well, I have nothing to do. I'm going crazy, but it was something I always wanted to do. But now I had the time to do it, and I wanted to give back to the Canadian Mental Health Association and didn't know how, and wanted to make a tribute to my grandmother and all these things. And I was like, well, if it doesn't work, whatever. I try, and it was massively successful. But that doesn't happen very often. Usually, it's like, I tried, no, that didn't work. Okay, now let's try this. Like, okay, well, that sucked. That didn't work. Let's try this. And you have to keep trying. If you look at inventions, like people that invented things, do you think their first model was perfect? It wasn't. Like, that's just reality. And the same goes in life and in success, and especially to entrepreneurs. And if you think your journey is going to be like this, you're madly mistaken. It is like high, then crash, then high, then crash. Then you're like, okay, I've got it figured out. And then you're like, nope, don't. You crash again. That's entrepreneurship, which is why I like mentoring, because I like to say to them, like, I promise you, it feels like an absolute bomb right now. It's not. You're going to be okay. Keep going. But lots throw in the towel before they see that, the pick me up again, before they get back on the upscale. So that's just the reality of entrepreneurship. It just is.
I was going to say the tenacity of entrepreneurship, like that, like, sorry, Sammy, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I was just going to say, can we ask how, like, I want to get into our topic of judgment. So can we ask how old you were when you found your passion with the spas and you wanted to take on that instead of pursuing being a lawyer?
So 18. So I was 18 years old when I started working at the spa. I was like 19 because I graduated when I was 16. So I was early, like small towns. That's just like, you do well because there's 10 students. And so at around 18 is when I started working at the spa. And I knew pretty much immediately that I was like in love with it, just because, like I said, it was like this, it was calm and tranquil. And I didn't know calm and tranquil. I'd never experienced that before in my life in any capacity. Nowhere that I went in life did that happen. And so I knew right away I was in love with it. I didn't know how or in what regard or what capacity, but I knew that this felt right. When I was 20 is when the conversation started to happen where the previous owner was like, you should buy this. I've never seen somebody with a heart for it like this. Like, you should buy this for me. And it was like, oh my God, is that a thing I could do? Like, how do I do that? Like, what do I do? And I tell this story on stage a lot because, like, talk about being so naive. She's like, okay, you need to go get a loan, go to the bank, get a loan. So I was like, okay, cool. So I took my baby and I like went up to the teller because this is how much I knew at that age. Like, hi, I'd like to get a loan for like $500,000, like, to the teller. Like, the teller was like, sorry. I'm like,
what?
She's like, you need to talk to like a loan manager and like you need to have a business plan. And I was like, oh, but like, here's my debit card, like I had no idea.
Here's my license and my debit card.
Yeah, like, do you need my health card? Do you need my like social insurance? Like, what do you need from me? Like, me with my baby like crying. Like, it was just really, and I look back now and the way I was treated was really, really bad. I was literally laughed out the door in a lot of those situations. I was told that I wasn't smart enough. I was told that there was no way I knew what I was doing. Like, I was way over my head. I bit off more than I could chew. I actually was told to go find a husband. When you find a husband, come back.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I share that lots on stage because that was like you know what the worst part about that is that I believed it. I actually walked out going like, I'm I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not smart enough to do this. I'm not, but I kept trying. I kept trying. I just didn't want to give up because I felt like this like opportunity was in front of me and I had to figure it out. So the whole story of how it all worked out, I was able to get a little bit of a loan, but then had to get her to finance it. And the business was failing terribly at the time. Like it was not doing well. And I completely turned it around and changed it in every capacity.
Wow.
But that's like, I was like 21-ish, 22-ish when it was like on me and I had to like, okay, here it is. Here's this opportunity in front of you. What are you going to do with it? And I took that very seriously. I knew it was an opportunity to change my life and to change my child's life. And within a couple of years, I was remarried, had 2 more kids, and the rest is history. But those
Oh,
days, I look back and I don't know where that drive came from, but and that judgment, to go back to the judgment, like the judgment of walking into those banks when you have social anxiety. Like I said, I couldn't order pizza. Somebody would like knock on the door and I'd be like, I'm not answering it. The phone would ring and I'd be like, no, I'm not.
mm-mm.
Nope, I'm not answering it. Like I just was like so terrified of like talking to people, and the spa just like slowly broke that for me. And but walking into those banks and having to have like pitch myself was absolutely so out of my comfort zone. And I don't know to this day where I got that uh, courage
Wow.
and like strength to keep going, even when I kept getting kind of like ripped apart, frankly, when I'd go in, and what they would say to me was pretty gross. And so, um, yeah, it wasn't comfortable to be told you're not smart enough. You're not like, who do you think you are, doing this? And so the judgment started very, very early, but I had judgment all my life. I was judged so much on like, being the poor family in town and being the girl with the secondhand clothes and not having food in our fridge and being super skinny because we weren't eating. And because my father was an alcoholic and there was like drama and there was police at our house all the time. And all of those things were things that a small town will just talk about. And girls, it can be real mean. Kids can be really mean. And so I learned what it felt like to be judged very, very early. And I remember thinking, and I remember this so clearly, I remember thinking like, someday I'm going to wear nice clothes. I'm going to buy designer clothes because someday I'm going to have them. And someday, because I was always made fun of for the clothes that I was wearing, because in a small town, when they're hand-me-downs, they belonged to someone else that was there, right? So they'd point out like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
those are my jeans. Oh, those are my. And so, and then the car that we drove was this like piece of crap car that had no muffler. And so it was nicknamed the Chopper because it sounded like a helicopter. And we were made fun of for that. And then the house that we lived in was like a low income house that we ended up losing. And so we were made fun of for that. And like my parents smoked in our house. So everything always smelled like smoke. And like, those were the 3 things that I remember being really, really judged on. And for talking too much, that was the other thing. And I remember saying, like, someday I'm going to buy nice clothes. Like, I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to be able to buy designer clothes and I'm going to drive a nice car. When I'm older, I'm going to buy myself a Mercedes Benz and I'm going to live in a nice house, and then the judgment's going to stop. That's what I believed. I believed that the judgment was going to stop. Now, here I am all these years later. And yeah, I buy whatever clothes I want to buy and I drive a really nice car and I live in a beautiful house. And I am more judged now on those 3 things than I was back then. And I'm on the complete opposite end. You cannot,
What?
you cannot win by someone else's expectations.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that the hard way because I thought like, well, once I dress nice, they're going to stop judging me on the way I dress.
No.
Well, once I drive a nice car, they're going to stop judging me on the car that I drive. And when I live in a nice house, well, now it's opposite. It's like, oh, who does she think she is? And oh, she lives in a nice, must be nice. And, all the comments. And that was pretty alarming to me because I thought if I just do what they want me to do, then I'll be happy and they'll be happy. Nobody is ever happy on like no one's ever stopping the judgment. So at this end, I was judged. At this end, I was judged. And I learned very, very quickly that it doesn't matter what you do. Someone has something to say. Someone is going to judge you. And you cannot live your life trying to appease people that don't know you, that don't know the journey, that make assumptions, because that is an unhappy person that is so quick to judge somebody about the car I drive or the, the clothes. I was on an advertisement for I can't remember what it was for. I think I'd won an award, and I was put up on this like billboard, and somebody had shared it on social media, and people were like, congratulations, whatever. And then somebody underneath it wrote like, spoiled rich little daddy's girl in her like fancy suit. And I remember just being so crushed by it.
Yeah.
And my now husband is like, why do you care? That's, that's not true. It's literally the furthest thing from the truth that your daddy's rich girl. Like, why does that bother you? Like, clearly they're wrong. And I'm like, I don't know. You're so right. They're so wrong that like no one is taking a moment to go, actually, maybe she worked really hard, And so what I realized is two things. One, you can't stop the judgment. People are going to judge you no matter what you do. Okay. But number two, people don't care as much as we think they do. They are going to talk, and 40 seconds later, they've moved on and they're talking about something else. That's how little it matters to them. And I promise this is true, because the same people that told me, that judged me so bad about my car, my house, and my clothes, are the same people that judge me about those same three things now, but they've forgotten that they were that way to me. I had a lady once say to me, like, I always knew you'd do great. I'm so proud of you. And I'm thinking in my head, and my sister and I talked about it after because she was there, that was the meanest person to me. And she had no recollection, none. That's how little it mattered in her mind to say the things that she did. And so I learned very, very quickly into the success of my business and my life that nobody really cares as much as we think they do. They talk about us for 30 seconds and then they move on, and it's really none of our business. Let them talk, because they're going to talk anyway, and they're going to judge you no matter what they do. And the only thing it's going to do is hurt you. And the only person it's going to drive crazy is you. And meanwhile, this person moves on and goes on with their life and doesn't care. They told me that the car I drove wasn't good enough, so I got a better car, and now they tell me my car's too good. What am I supposed to do then? You can't make unreasonable people happy. You just can't. And so I had to learn to ask myself, am I hurting anybody with the clothes that I wear now?
Right.
Am I a good person? Am I doing good things in the world? Then none of those opinions matter. And is there truth to them? Am I a bad person because I worked hard and and to be fair, like, I like to thrift. So like, don't be so judgy about, I wish I could say that sometimes, like, don't be so judgy about the suit that you're judging me. I found that at a thrift store,
Yeah.
But I refuse to because they don't deserve it. People are just going to, they're going to judge no matter what you do, no matter what you say. And if you live your life to try to appease other people, you're just going to be miserable, because you're never going to be successful at it.
Right.
You just have to do what's best for you, for your family, for your children, for the people you love, and be okay with the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000%. Because can you imagine, like, when you were saying that about that one lady that didn't remember what she said, can you imagine if you go back to your younger self, if you took her judgment and you changed the course of your life because of her judgment? And then
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, she's forgotten all about it and it's changed the entire course of your life.
Do you know how many years I would hold my tongue when I wanted to speak because I was told I talked too much? You need to stop that. You need to learn. It's annoying. You need to not be so chatty. I get paid now to talk. Now I stand on stage and I talk.
Yes.
I wish I could go back, but what's the purpose of that? They won't even remember the saying. Like,
no.
That's how little it matters when someone can just be like so quick to judge and so quick to insult. And the other thing that I've learned is that, I have to remember those things when I find myself judging, because we do it every day. I think it's just human nature to just like, the lady in front of you is braking and being, annoying in traffic. And it's our instinct to just be annoyed, or the teller is being rude at the grocery store and you're like, ugh, like the cash person, and it's so quick. We're so quick to just like assume that lady's being today, instead of going like, maybe she's barely holding on.
Yeah.
Maybe she's like,
Yeah.
barely surviving. Maybe she just lost her father. Maybe she is at home with an abusive husband. Maybe her child is sick. We maybe have no idea what's going
Right.
on in that person's life. And even to today, I have to hold myself
100%.
accountable, because we are so quick to assume the worst instead of, taking a step back and going like, you know, maybe I should just ask my teammate there that was grouchy to me this morning if she's okay, instead of being like,
Mm.
did you see so and so being rude to me this morning?
Hmm.
Like, actually, Jane, are you good? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Because I remember how angry I came across to my family and friends when I was like just surviving. Was I angry at them? No, but I took it out on the people that I love because I was struggling. And I
Hmm.
think it's just really important that we remember to try to show kindness, even when like our instinct is to be judgy or judgmental or short or like annoyed. Just take a step back and go like, I can choose to be kind here because it could change the trajectory of this person's day or their life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
have the ability, I say this on stage all the time. We have the ability to change the trajectory of a human being's life simply by the impact we have on them. It can be positive or it can be negative. You can ruin someone's entire day by being a jerk to them, or you can completely turn their day around by being
Mm-hmm.
kind to them. You never know what someone else is dealing with. And I lost my stepmother to her mental health. She committed suicide, and it was absolutely devastating. And I had no idea. I knew she was struggling like always kind of a little bit of depression, but I had no idea. And it really woke me up to go, we get so caught up in our own worlds. Are we really checking on the people that we love? Are we
Mm.
so concerned with what other people think about us that we're not stopping to think about whether or not the reason that they're saying that is because they're not okay, or the reason that they're
Mm.
acting this way is because they need love or they need a little kindness. So it's really changed the way that I think, but I still have to hold myself accountable too and go like, I have bad days, and I'm sure I get annoyed in traffic too, or like, but I try to remind others and hold myself to this as well, that, let's just not be so quick to judge. Let's give it a moment and say like, what if this person is barely holding on? What if I'm the reason that they go home and take their own life? What if I'm the reason that they get up tomorrow because I was kind to them? We have that ability to leave a footprint on someone's life. And I think that we should just take that a bit more seriously and be a bit more respectful of the fact that we do have the ability to leave a footprint on those around us and to show kindness and be the reason someone might get up in the morning and not be the reason that they don't.
Yeah. Wow. That is so powerful.
I'm like trying to put this thought together in my head of all these things you just said, because I know what you said is so true. And it's not just in the sense of like how kind we can be and how compassionate we can be, but I think also how we show up in the sense
Yeah.
of, we live in a very cancer culture, like as not just canceling people we hang out with, but canceling plans because they're inconvenient, canceling last minute. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that if we can hold ourselves more accountable, even in those moments of showing up when we say we're going to show up, it not only builds our own self-confidence and belief in our ability to show up when things are feeling hard, but it also shows up to those people that they matter to us enough that we're not
Yeah.
going to cancel on them. And so I
Yeah.
think it's more than just how we treat people in terms of like the words that we say and how we
Yeah.
approach, but it's all of it. And
Presence and being present. And if
Mhm.
you can't be present, that's okay. And I say that's important as well, because I think it's important to not try to be everything when you
Totally.
can't. When you're at zero and at empty and you can't show up tonight, but it's important to like reach out to your sisters, reach out to the people that love you and say like, you know what? I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then when someone does that, when they do have the courage to reach out to you, be there for them. Be ready to hold your hand out and say like, girl, I got you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And forget everything else.
Yeah.
Forget about the fact that maybe she was, not friendly to you yesterday or whatever. If she's saying to you, I need your help, like, you know, just listening and being an ear and just being okay with the fact that she's opened up to you.
Yeah.
And I think we have so much fear of letting people down and letting ourselves down. And like, so sometimes I think as much as we want to show up, we need to be okay that we can't be at all. And
Mm-hmm.
with the world right now, they did such a good job of this in the Barbie movie. If you watch the Barbie movie, where she says like, we have to do this and we have to be that and we have to be everything and we have to, but you got to be the certain size. You can't be too big, you can't be too small, but you can't say too much. And if you do say too much, you can't, And it's so true because I feel like there's just this judgment always waiting to make us feel like we're not enough or we're not doing enough and we can't just be ourselves and we can't be raw and be honest. And I think it's so important that if you have created this like circle of friendships, let's say around you or your family or whoever that is, even if it's one person, being comfortable and confident enough and courageous enough to say to them when you're not okay, like, I'm not okay. I can't show up for you tonight because I'm not okay. And instead, we pretend that we're fine and show up negatively.
Yeah.
And then when she does just not show up, we're so quick to judge and assume that it must be because she's just not a good friend or she's doesn't care about me or, you know, or whatever it is. And I think it's okay to just be not okay all the time. And it's okay to just be ourselves and be raw and to ask for help. And when someone asks you for help, you know, listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly is that honesty about why you're not showing up if you can't show up, instead of pretending, because it's like we think being sick, like physically sick, is a good excuse. So like, I'll just say I have a cold or I'll just say I have the flu or whatever. But actually it's a mental thing that you're having and that's your problem. And by telling not your problem, that's the wrong way of putting it. That's what's going on for you. If you tell the person you can't show up because that's the real reason, like there's so much honesty and vulnerability and trust building happening there versus like she always cancels because she's sick. And like, but there's no realness to it. There's no real...
And they might say to you, you know, and this has happened to me where I'm like, I'm on empty, you guys. I've been on the road. I'm so drained. I'm like, I'm really feeling like a failure right now. Like, I feel like nothing's going right. I just like, and my girlfriends will say like, okay, let's just change the plan. Maybe you don't need to be like, let's not go do this, but let's get together. Let's watch a movie. Let's, you know, how can I show up for you right now? What do you need from me? What do you need? Is it an ear? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to FaceTime you right now? Do you want me to come over? Do you need a hug? Do you want me to do nothing? Do you want me to just like give you space and, you know, tell the rest of the girls, like, what do you need from me right now? I'm here. What do you need?
Yeah. 100%.
And there's so much power in just simply, like you said, showing up. And it's not just about physically showing up. It's showing up and saying like, hey, I noticed you were off today. What's going on? I'm here. And if they're like, I don't want to talk about it, got you. You don't have to, but I'm here. I got you. I'm here for you. What do you need me to do?
Yeah. 100%.
What can I do? How can I help you? How can I show up for you right now?
100%.
And that can go so far.
Absolutely. And I think what we're talking about too is dropping the judgment on both sides. We're dropping the judgment on like actually three sides. It's like what you just described in that moment takes three things. It takes the friend not judging. It takes the person not judging, like neither girlfriend is judging each other. And then it's also taking yourself not judging yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think
that's
that's the hardest one. Because then you're like, great, I already feel like a failure. Now I'm failing to show up.
Now I'm feeling more.
Yeah. Right. And that's
totally.
what we do. We like beat ourselves up so much about it. And I'm not saying that, it can be annoying sometimes. And like that it is what it is, you know, and I'm not saying we're perfect all the time and that we're not going to, you know, we're going to be perfect friends and you have to be, that's not reality, but it just means like give each other a little bit of grace. That's all I ask is like, just give a little bit of grace to each other. You know, like she's been a really good friend to me. I'm not going to jump over the moon over this little issue. You know, I'm going to say, maybe she's just not, maybe something's not right here, and love them enough to dig a little.
Yeah.
You've not been yourself. Are you okay? What do I need? What can I do for you? And if they don't want anything, just give them some love.
Yeah.
Like just send a message that says like, you know, I'm thinking about you. And there's also something so powerful in that. So when I do workshops, and I do a lot of like women's workshops where I'll just like plan a little like organized, you know, 10 people, 6 people, 12 people. And one task I do with usually like within the first hour, but sometimes I'll do it at the end, is I'll say, I want you to send out, grab your phone right now and you send out like no more than 5, no less than 3 messages to, let's say, not your best friend, like that you talk to a million times a day, like someone else with something beautifully kind. That's it. No ask, no request. It can be a neighbor. It can be the lady who watches your kids. It can be the person who walked your dog. It could be a girl that you work with, just something really kind that just simply says like, hey, I was just thinking about you today. I just want to tell you, I think you're such a wonderful human. I'm so grateful to have you in my world. I hope you're having the best week. And then I usually get them to read their responses at the end. And almost always there is at least one or two that are like, you don't know how badly I needed to hear something kind today. Thank you so much for this. You don't even know how much I needed, how much this lifted my spirits, or how good this made me feel. And that is the most rewarding feeling that you can feel. And so I say that to do just because I think it's a really beautiful, kind thing to do. But I also teach this as when you're feeling down in the dumps and you're like, I feel like nothing around me is going positively. Well, I can't control that, but what I can control is what I can put out. So if I'm not feeling it, I'm going to go give it. My girlfriends know in my world that all of a sudden, if I like show up with like a gift on their door or like send them something, they're like, oh, Jess is having a rough week, because I find it feels so good.
Yeah.
And the spa world taught me that. Like just a little bit of kindness can really turn someone's day around, and it turns my day around too. So it's kind of two-sided. I mean, that's not the reason I do it, but it certainly refills my tank when I'm feeling like down in the dumps, and I can lift somebody else's day, or make them feel like a little smile. Or I've sent out messages to like teachers that taught my kids that are like, had made an impact on my kids, that I have their numbers like years later. I've just sent her a message, not like maybe 3 days ago, and was just like, hey, I was just thinking about you as my daughter's going into grade 12. And I just wanted to say thank you for being such a wonderful, beautiful impact. My kids have never forgotten you as a teacher, and you're so wonderful, and you're the sweetest. And she wrote back like the most like lovely message saying like that, you don't understand how meaningful that is to me in my career. It makes me want to do more. And it just felt good to like, put a little love back in the world when it's so gross.
Absolutely. And if we can kind of facilitate that kind of a movement more than the judgment movement, then we're doing our
redirect
job.
redirect the energy, right?
Totally.
I said to my girlfriends the other day, I was having a rough week with somebody had kind of done something kind of awful. I had kind of witnessed somebody being really awful to someone else, and I was watching it from a distance, and it just, that feeling of like, ugh, that gross, like, and I was like, I can't sit with this. I got to go do something. I got to redirect this energy instead of like sitting here and complaining about it, like watching somebody else. I could have been like, oh my God, did you see how she treated her? Like that was so awful, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to like, I just am redirecting it. So I actually put together, I haven't launched it yet, but I put together a couple of little, like, not gift baskets, but like a care package, spa at home type package. And I'm going to do like a giveaway and just be like, to enter, all they need to do is write something really kind about somebody in their life and tag them. So that not only does somebody win the thing and gets gifted this beautiful little thing, but I get to read all these beautiful messages and people get to see these kind. So instead of like having my brain focus on this, like, cause I was so annoyed. Like I was like, I'm going to call this girl and tell her she can't treat people like that. And I'm like, no, that is just me being judgmental. Like I need to just redirect it. I just need to redirect it. I don't like the way that I'm feeling right now. I just need to redirect it and shift my energy. And I've done that a lot with things. So when I think about the shelters, for example, for a long, long time, when I would have this memory of the women's shelters when I was a kid, and like I talked about earlier with like the drawing on the walls with the crayons and stuff, like that is a very, very vivid memory for me as a child. And every time I thought about it for a very long time, I got sick to my stomach and was like, don't think about it. Don't like read, like that anxiety that we feel when you have a bad memory. And through therapy, I learned to redirect that energy. And now every single time I think about something about that, or I'm reminded of those traumatic experiences, I focus and do something beautiful for the shelters. So we just did a massive collection for a local women's shelter in Saskatoon that they needed sweatpants for teen boys. They needed feminine products. They needed new dishes. They needed new glasses. I put the word out there and got a whole bunch of these items and took them there. So instead of sitting in that like gross feeling, I redirected it. And so when I think about being on that bus when I was 15 years old and like that gross feeling and that fear, I've like redirected it. And now I think about that every single time I stand on stage and I'm like, one of these kids could be me at 15 sitting on a bus, not knowing how they're going to live. And if I can give them any advice, I'm certainly going to take the opportunity to do so. And then when I think about my best friend, Allie, that's my girlfriend who passed away from breast cancer, I think about all the years and all the memories we had, and I could sit in that sadness and I could sit in that gross grief. And I have, believe me, but I wanted to do something positive with it. And so we created a lip product that we donate the funds back to breast cancer research. And so each thing I've like tried to, every gross feeling I had, I'm like, I can shift it. I can switch my mindset on it and I can do something positive with it. And yes, of course, it still bothers me. Like when I think about my dad, little trigger warning here, it's a little deep, but my father with his addictions, it was very severe, his mental health, but he actually froze to death in a snowbank. That's how he passed away, when he was walking home from a pub. And so that was very, very traumatic for me. So every winter for a long time, every time it would get really cold or my kids would go out, I have a 25-year-old and a 21-year-old, and every time they'd go out and have drinks, I'd be like, oh my God, they're not going to make it home. Like I went into this like deep anxiety and I had to redirect it. And so we do these now, I shifted it and I've put all these like little things into place that we do a collection of winter gear now. So like winter boots, winter jackets. My dad wasn't wearing a winter jacket when he passed away. Winter jackets, winter toques, winter mitts. I don't really have to do a whole crazy lot other than I put the word out there. I try to be the person that collects it from people, get, your mittens and that guy's toque and those boots from that couple that we're going to donate them. And then we take them to the shelters and we give them to the people that don't have them. And so I think of all these things. And of course, now when I think about losing my dad that way, obviously it's still heartbreaking, but I also kind of smile, and not because I lost him, but because I know that he's responsible for all these beautiful things that we do now. And I took this terrible, awful, hard thing and turned it into something positive because it feels better. And maybe that was just a healing, way of dealing with my trauma. But now, and maybe at first that's what it was, but now it has turned into something so beautiful that I can say, I'm grateful for the hard times. I'm not grateful for obviously losing him and all those things. That still devastates me, but I'm grateful for the opportunity now to change other people's lives and to do the things that we get to do, because it is so fulfilling to be able to take something that once was so painful and so heartbreaking and turn it into something beautiful and know that they're directly connected.
Mm-hmm.
That is the reason that this beautiful thing happened, is because of something so sad and so dark, right? And so now to connect them with something beautiful has kind of redirected my thought process on the heaviness of some of those traumas and some of those like heartaches. And I use that judgment every single day. Every time that someone judges me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna, when they say something about like, oh, well, she thinks this or she does that, or who does she think she is? I'm like, I'm going to take that. Thanks for reminding me. It just makes me want to go do something positive and go put something beautiful in the world. So you can let it control you. You can let it take you down a bad road, or you can use it as fuel to make you do something great. So every time somebody says something mean about me, I have my moment of like, well, that doesn't feel nice to hear. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do something great with it. And you're responsible. So you thought you were being mean.
Haha.
Yeah. But actually, you thought you were putting evil into the world. And in turn,
take that.
You did. Yeah. And so that's just my personal little way of doing it. And that, for a long time, I think was what healed with therapy, a lot of hurt in my heart. But that's what it started as. And now it's turned into this like creative, beautiful, fulfilling thing that I do. And it's just like my little thing that I do, but I like to teach it because it is really impactful.
Yeah.
And really fulfilling.
I love it.
I was thinking this as you were talking about judgment, and as you're talking about, you said something about it's our natural reaction is to be judgmental or be whatever it is. And I wonder how much of that is we think it's natural because we all grew up with it. But
1,000%.
Actually, if we teach it the way that you're teaching it, like even so much as like being angry on the road, like somebody cuts you off and your reaction is, ugh, right? And your kids go, what's wrong? And you're like, oh, nothing. Someone made a mistake. It frustrated me for a second, but it's fine. We all do it. You know what I mean? Like if we're doing that dialogue instead of like, well, this guy on the road just cut me off. Like, what's he thinking? Like you're feeding that to the kids in the back.
Totally.
And so not only are you reorganizing your own thoughts around that judgment, but
you're teaching yourself how to,
and the kids. That you don't have to respond. You're not teaching them that we can judge everybody based on their mistakes or their actions. You're teaching them that we're all human. We all make mistakes. How can we make a bigger impact on that person or even on our own response to that situation instead of being angry and judgmental? And so I think
And it's
that's a big thing.
rewiring our brains, I think, a little bit too. And in business, I've had to do that. My husband actually taught me probably one of the best things that he's such an incredible human. He taught me this little, it's the smallest thing, you guys, and it has literally been life changing for me. So at the beginning of my career, and as I was like growing the businesses, obviously it's a lot of stress and a lot of chaos and and it took me so long. And if I would have just listened to him at the beginning, he said to me, write down all the things that you're feeling are so stressful right now at work.
Mhm.
Okay. So I wrote them all down. And then he's like, I don't want you to look at it again for like another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And then I'd go back and look at it, and not one of those things were still a problem, because they're just like little things. And so what it
Oh,
taught
wow.
me is that, and then I do it again, I write my list. And what it taught me is I got to the point where I was like, I'm not even going to put this on the list because I know it'll be fine in a couple of days. And then it started to get to the point where I was like, I know in a week this isn't even going to be an issue, so don't even let it weigh on you. To now,
Mhm.
it happens, and I'm like, it's just a part of the process.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I'm
Yes.
not kidding, the amount of tears I cried and nights of no sleep, and my
Mm.
poor husband having to console me, saying like, Jess, you're going to be, it's fine. Like I know it feels like it's the end of the world, but I promise you're going to be okay. You've made it through all these other things, because when you're in it, it feels so overwhelming and so like
Mhm.
stressful. And when it's your business and your baby, I always say my business is like one of my babies, it feels so personal. And I I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, and the only regrets I do have is that I let myself beat myself up so much about
Mm.
things that I could have moved on from much quicker had I been a little wiser. And that was
Mhm.
a piece, like such a small thing my husband said to do.
Mhm.
He's like, I promise this won't even be an issue for you in a few years,
Yeah.
or in a few days,
Amazing.
or
Yeah.
in a few
I
weeks,
love it.
And he was
I love
so
it.
right. And I don't know where he
Mhm.
got that wisdom from, but he was bang
Smart
on.
man.
I
So
want to, can,
I've learned to
Melissa,
trust him.
I'm going to let you say your thing in just a second, but I just want
No,
to
it's
say
okay.
this, like
Go ahead.
another
Go
small
ahead. I
thing
got
that,
it written down. It's not leaving. You're good.
that
I'll
my
say
husband
it.
said to me, and it's a similar small thing. It was, I used to get really frustrated when I would always hold the door open for somebody coming behind me. No matter what, I'm always holding the door. And I'm jacked about it. I'm happy to do it. And I'm doing it because I know it's helpful and it feels nice. But I would also get frustrated when people didn't say thank you. And I would be frustrated. Eventually, my husband goes, well, why are you holding the door? And I was like, because it's nice and it feels nice when someone holds the door open for you. He's like, so then why do you need a thank you? And I was like, I guess I don't. He's like, so maybe
Yeah.
don't get mad about it. I was like, yeah, okay,
And
good
here's a way to
point.
look at that. So here's where my brain now goes with that. I used to be the same way. I actually used to say, this is like the 20-year-old me, like, you're welcome.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah.
Like, you know, you forgot to say you're welcome. But now my mind goes to like, maybe they're so in their brain about whatever is going on in their world. They
Mhm.
didn't even notice that I did because they're so heavy with something else. And if I could just make this teeny tiny little like in their life,
Yeah,
Yeah.
be grateful that I did.
Yeah. 100%.
exactly.
I had somebody once say to me, um, okay, so I noticed a girl that I worked with was being kind of grouchy to me. And it was like, I honestly was like, oh, I can't believe she's being so like, this is many years ago, but I was like, I can't believe she's being such a like, blah, blah, I was mad. And so finally I was like, why are you being like so miserable to me? She's like, you were rude to me this morning. I'm like, what? When did I see you? She's like, you came in, you walked right past me, you gave me a dirty look and you walked by. And I'm like, I don't remember seeing you. And she's like, well, it made me cry. And I'm like, when did I
Oh my
see
gosh.
you? And she's like, it really upset me. And I had to step back and go like, whether I was so in my own world because something had happened that morning. I think a washing machine and something had happened. And one of the spas was like, and I was in my zone of like, oh my God, I got to deal with this thing. And I don't even remember seeing her. And I had to recognize that like, she's been carrying this around all day. And in turn, her response to me was to kind of get short. And my response back was to be even shorter when it was a complete misunderstanding. But it doesn't mean that I
Misunderstanding.
wasn't sorry that she was hurting. I felt
Yeah.
terrible. And a lot
Mhm.
of people would say, well, why would you apologize? You didn't even know you saw her. I'm like, I'm not apologizing because I on purpose ignored her. I'm apologizing because my actions, whether I meant to or not, still hurt another human being's feelings. I don't like that. I don't want
Mhm.
to hurt someone else's feelings, whether I meant
Mhm.
to or not, really doesn't matter at
Yeah.
this point. I just want to make her feel better. And so I was like, I'm so sorry. I genuinely did not see you. And she said to me after something so simple, she said, "Thank you for not just like gaslighting me or saying like, well, I didn't even see you, so why are you mad? I didn't even see you, you know? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people immediately get defensive instead of just going like, maybe I looked rude. Maybe I was like, it's okay to make mistakes sometimes. Like, I'm so sorry. I will be more conscious of that. And now I genuinely try to be like aware of my surroundings so that doesn't, I don't ever want to make someone feel that way again. Whether I meant to or not is only smart part of the problem. The other problem was being aware and just going like, I don't want to make someone feel like that. And I want to own that.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. I always tell my kids, if you drop a plate and it's broken, it doesn't matter if you meant to or if you didn't mean to, the plate is still broken. So we still have to be responsible for
That's right.
the broken plate.
And yes, it's worse if you did it on purpose.
Of course.
But it doesn't mean you don't have any responsibility. And that's
right.
That's to my point with that. Like, I genuinely was like, in my brain, I'm certain I didn't see her. Yeah. But it hurt her feelings so bad. And I felt terrible. And I was like, what can I learn from this? Instead of just getting defensive, like, what can I learn?
Yeah.
I can learn that sometimes my actions come across cold or, you know, not welcoming. And I don't want to be that person. So I'm going to just try to be a little bit more aware. That's the best. That's what I can do here, is learn from it. That. And am I still learning? Yes. Am I still have my off days? Of course. Am I grouchy some days? Of course. You know, we're not perfect, but you got to try. At least you can try to learn. That's how you grow.
Amazing.
Yes. Okay, Melissa, say what you need to say, and then I have one more question and we'll let you go, Jess.
I just have to say what you said about redirecting and shifting the energy had a massive impact on me.
But you do have the ability to redirect, and it's so important to do so. Like, you have the choice. You have two choices in front of you every day of your life, every situation, every opportunity. You have a decision to make. There's always multiple options, right? And try, if you can, to take a breath and go, is this how I want to respond, or is this how I should respond? Like, should I freak out right now and get really mad at my kid because they were late for whatever? Or should I take a breath and go like, maybe he had a hard day? Is the lady at the drugstore that was like snotty to me, does she deserve my snarky response, or is she going to change? Her lack of integrity shouldn't challenge my integrity. And so I'm going to, you know, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have the best day. They almost don't know what to do with it when someone's rude like that. I had a customer come in one time and she was just like, I want this person fired. They blah, blah, blah. And she's going off. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We're going to, and she was just like, well, I mean, like, I don't want anyone to get in trouble. Like, no, I'm like, what? Like, but she's just said, I'm not used to people being so like, positive back. Like, I think it shocked her that I was immediately like, absolutely, you're right. Let's fix this. Like, and I think it's because people are just so quick to be negative, right?
Yeah, so 100%. I love it.
It's very rare for someone to not fly off the defense, and when someone comes at you offensively.
Have you seen that reel that the lady walks in to return something, and the lady's like, absolutely, we can do this return for you, no problem. And the lady's like, oh, and the lady goes, oh, sorry, were you wanting a fight? She's like, yeah, do you mind? Do you mind? I needed that today. And she's like, oh, no problem. So she comes in, she's like, I just returned. She's like, do you have your receipt? And the lady's like, no. And it's like, well, that is unacceptable. Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, thanks so much. That like made me feel better. Like,
I needed that outlet today.
Yeah.
So good.
It is. It's just so true because people are so ready for a battle. Anyways, that's very off topic, but yeah.
But it's true. They are. I want to say one last question for you. Is there anything, I know we've kind of gone in between judgment and redirecting right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything on those topics that we haven't touched on that is something you'd really like to say about whether it's the concept of judgment or redirecting the negative or trying to be aware of yourself that you would like to say before we wrap up?
I think a couple little things. The takeaways for me today for anybody listening would be, don't be so hard on ourselves when someone says something maybe not so kind or when someone is making us feel judged, because I promise you, they don't care as much as we think they do. We think that they're going home thinking this and carrying it with them, that they think this bad thing about us. They don't. They thought it for 2 seconds. They maybe said it in a moment of grouchiness. They've moved on. It doesn't carry that much weight, and we shouldn't let it hurt us the way that it does. People just don't care, and you can't stop their judgment. You can try over and over and over to meet the expectations of other people, and you'll never, ever, ever succeed. But if you try to reach your own expectations and your own goals and what makes you feel happy and your family and your husband and your kids, that you can reach. That is how you can find success. So that is my thought about judgment. In regards to redirecting the negatives that as they come to you, again, just to simplify it, you have a choice to make every day. You can choose to throw in the towel, or you can choose to keep trying. You can choose to react negatively, or you can choose to take a breath and say, even though it feels wrong, I'm going to react positively because I'm not going to stoop to the level of the person that made me feel that way. And the biggest takeaway that I would love for people to walk away with is that the reminder that we do have the ability to change the trajectory of somebody's day, their week, their month, or their life simply by the impact we have on them. And it can be something so simple as showing, a little bit of care, or a little bit of kindness, or a little bit of grace. And if we have that ability to change the trajectory, the path that somebody's on, both positively or negatively, please choose to let it be a positive one.
So good.
And that is kind of my little takeaways from everything we talked about. I know we got into a lot of deep conversation, but I think those are important things that if I can reach anybody, that would be what I would say.
I agree.
I love it so much.
I think those are great ways to summarize everything that was chatted about here. Yes. Thank you so much for your time today, Jess.
Thank
It was
you.
such a pleasure chatting with you.
It was so great to meet you guys. Okay, enjoy your day, ladies.
Yes, you too.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much.
too. Take good care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh. I love her.
Yes.
Like, what a light. Hey?
Yeah.
I just think she's such a light, and I love her story, and I love her energy. Like, I just love it all.
I just love when we have these conversations and it hits home for one of us, like in terms, like it hits home for both of us in terms of like a lot of it, but there's always one of us that's like, oh yeah, that was on my brain today or yesterday or something came up, and I know that happened for one of us today. So I think that I love when that happens. I love when that happens.
I love when I get something like, or not when I get something, that sounds terrible, like it's transactional, but I love when the takeaways, when there's big takeaways like that, and she had some big takeaways today that are really beautiful and life-altering in a really positive, lovely way. But I love when those takeaways are like, okay, I have something tangible that I'm going to do that's going to change something here. But also I get so excited for other people to hear it too, where I'm like, whoa, this just happened and this is amazing. And I want to hear, if somebody else is going to take something and do something different and make a little change in their life that, just that. It was funny. We were talking the other day, the kids and I were talking about ripple effects. And I feel like the ripple effects of her message and the ripple effects of an episode like this are immeasurable. And I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
And yes, that's my way of saying I agree with you, Sammy.
I want to touch on what she was saying just at the end there, where she was talking about not letting those short comments from people, like the negative judgments, because they say it so quickly and they move on. And I think that when people say those short negative comments, we can really let them eat at us. And we know that we've learned from past behaviors from other people that those short comments actually mean nothing, because like she was saying, there's no weight behind them. They're not thinking of them. They're just spewing stuff out of their mouth. They're just saying hurtful things because it makes them feel better. And we let those hurtful comments eat at us and those judgment eat at us. And how she's saying you have to not. And I think the other part of that is if you've grown up in a situation or you've learned from some sort of situation, you've learned in some sort of way that those short negative comments mean nothing. I think you can also hold the weight, I know I do this, that the good comments also mean nothing. And so having to learn that generally people don't say nice things if they don't mean them.
Unless they mean them.
There is obviously exceptions.
And then they do have
that,
weight. When somebody says something kind, they do have weight. There's more weight behind a positive comment than a judgy comment.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we naturally think it's the other way around, and it's just not true.
Yeah.
Right? Like people so fleetingly put out these judgmental comments and less fleetingly put out the positive comments. That why do we attach ourselves to the wrong ones? I don't know. It's a weird human nature thing. But I love what she was saying about redirecting that energy. Like, can you imagine if she had held on to one of those judgments from the bank people on the very first on her very first experience? Like, what? Like, this whole how many things would be different if she had just believed them instead of the tenacity of keep going, just one more day, just one more day, just one more day, which I think really is the measure of a tenacious entrepreneur. That is the life of entrepreneur. And it's so easy for us to forget when we see somebody that has had big success entrepreneurially. It's so easy to forget that their tenacity of like keep going. I think that's like, I think that's big in entrepreneur land. So
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm so grateful for her.
I know her. I'm so glad you brought up her early story, like her getting going like in such an early age. I'm really glad I asked how old she was, because I think that we can as a young person, you can look and be like, well, they didn't do that till they were older. And as an older person, you're like, oh, good, they didn't do that till they were older, I can still do it. But as a younger person, recognizing that, oh, I can do it now. Like, I don't have to wait. If you don't want to, there's no pressure either way, but like, you don't have to wait till you have some sort of degree or you have some sort of specific experience. Like, if that's your desire, if that's your drive, if that's what you want, like, go for it. That doesn't mean there's going to be hurdles and it's not going to be hard and people aren't going to believe in you and all of these things, right? Yeah. But there's no reason you can't. And I think that's a powerful message from that. On both sides.
100%. Both ways. Like, it's never too early or too late to do it. And it doesn't, just because somebody says you can't, doesn't mean you can't.
Yeah.
Like, it's your tenacity. I keep saying that word, but it's your perseverance. It's your journey, not theirs.
I know there was something I saw on a post once, and it was actually Emily Jane Fish that posted this, and she said something, and it was like,
I'd love to have her on. Emily, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on.
It was like, it's something like, I'm gonna butcher the way that she worded it, but it was like, it's true that you're not as young as you used to be, and you wish you had started younger, but you'll never be as young as you are now. So you today. They can never be as young as you are today. So start now. And I'm like, I mean, if I've heard people say those kinds of things before, but the way that she worded it, I was like, damn. And she was talking about it, and I mean, she was referencing her fitness journey, but it's super true. And I have to say this. Are you shocked that I have a Friends reference based on our conversation with Jess today?
Oh, I almost fell off my chair. I really need a new office chair. I'm so shocked. Go. All the Friends references.
When she was talking about like doing the kind things for people, like it makes me feel good when I do with this kind thing, and and she's like, that's why I do it, which is like totally fine, but it made me think of the episode when Joey and Phoebe are having this back and forth, and Joey's like, there are no selfless good deeds, because you do something because it makes you feel good. Whether you get something else or not, it still makes you feel good. It's not a selfless good deed. So Phoebe is on this mission to try to do a selfless good deed, and she ends up Joey's doing this fundraiser for PBS, and she hates PBS, and so she ends up donating money for PBS. She's like, see there, it was selfless. I hate PBS, and I just donated money because I knew that it would do good things. But then it brings attention to Joey because she made the biggest donation. So then she's like, oh, I did something good for Joey. I feel so good. She's like, oh no. We think it's bad to do a good thing because it gives us back a good feeling. But like, that's not a bad reason to do a good thing. Like, it's still a good thing.
Don't not do the good deed because you don't want to feel good because it would be selfish.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, just do it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. I love it so much.
Anyways, so yeah, so grateful. Thank you so much, Jess. We're so glad we got the opportunity to chat with you today. It was very lovely.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. To help support the growth of this podcast, please feel free to leave us a review, follow us on socials, or recommend us to your friends. Your support honestly means the world to us. With love, Sammy